it. We went to the Milo Yiannopoulos event that was at the University of Washington. There was a lot of protests going on. It was in the news, pretty crazy evening, and we took the camera and went right in among these protesters to hear their stories, and it was just an incredible experience. So let's just get right into it. What were your guys' impression of the evening?
The evening overall was fantastic. I knew that this was going to be an important event socially and politically for our city.
We have the protesters. We're standing right above Red Square. We're about to go in, so let's go ahead and walk on down.
It was exciting, it was scary, it almost felt like we were like in a movie, you know, like being in the midst of it.
Yeah.
So
it was surreal, wasn't it?
It really was.
Yeah.
So who are you here to see tonight?
I'm here to be able to see Milo Yiannopoulos.
And why are you here to see Milo?
Mainly because there was a lot of protests on campus, a lot of posters that went up that were anti-Milo. Really made me interesting to hear what he had to say.
What does he have to say that resonates with you?
Well, I think he fundamentally tries to get a conversation started. A lot of what he says is kind of ridiculous and out there, but the underlying point that he's trying to make is to get people to think and to get people to talk about what he's saying.
Yeah. And for us to go around with the camera and the microphone, talk to people, get up in person with them to hear their stories, you know, you almost wish that we could create a little bit more dialogue between the two sides. What were, starting with the protesters, what were some of your impressions about, just in general, about the protesters?
So the protesters were kind of a broad spectrum. There was, we talked to a few women that didn't even have so much a problem with what Milo was saying, but how he was saying it. Who are you protesting?
Milo.
Okay, and why are you protesting Milo?
So I believe in freedom of speech, so it's fine that he's here to speak, but I also believe in my freedom of speech and my freedom to assembly, and so I can come and protest what he's saying, which is a bunch of racist, sexist, terrible things that he's saying about groups of people.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here.
Okay, can I talk to you for a sec? Cool. You're here to protest Milo as well, correct?
I absolutely am, yeah.
Okay. What are some of the things that Milo stands for or has said that rub you the wrong way?
I agree with his stance on First Amendment rights, but to use that as a ploy to discourage other people by saying that far left is identity politics and using his own identity to say, well, I'm this and I'm that, so this must be okay. And as a gay man, to use words like faggot, I find horribly offensive. Also the Breitbart. It's really hard to say that you stand for individual rights or freedom of speech when you support alt-right, very conservative news that all the time broadcasts hateful messages about race, about gender, and that's not okay.
What are some of the racist and hurtful gender messages that Breitbart perpetuates?
Well, specifically saying that black people would vote against conservatives because it's identity politics. When I read that specific piece, I was really offended that any black person wouldn't support a conservative access in politics, specifically about Trump, because they're only voting for their race. Well, I don't really think that's completely fair. I think there are probably many African Americans that have voted conservatively in the past. And particularly the dissemination of how many anti-transgender bathroom bills there are. There's a large support for that with Breitbart. So, you know, letting people know, okay, well, this House bill is coming up in Florida to ban transgender people from using the bathroom of their choosing. I feel like that's a direct slam on transgender people.
Actually, I'm not sure the artist, but I kind of decorated it. Basically, it's about intersectionality. I think in a lot of like feminism and movements before this, like white women just totally were not inclusive of people of color, of trans people, of like anyone that didn't fit the certain mold. So this sign to me kind of just means being intersectional and like watching out for people and saying, part of my female identity is directly tied with anyone who does not have male privilege, however that works.
Okay. What are some of the principles of Islam that you wanted to stand up for with your sign?
I think it's more just like the right to be whatever religion you are and to express that openly without fearing like violence. So it's more about that than like Islam itself, I think. I think it's just like sad that when, someone is caught committing violence and they happen to be Muslim, then people start profiling Muslim people, whereas white guys have perpetuated like most of the mass shootings that have ever happened in our country, but white guys aren't profiled as violent. So I think it's more just like standing up against that like double standard and saying like everyone should be able to express their religion, their gender, their sexuality, any part about themselves without fearing like violence.
What has he said that you disagree with?
There have been like a lot of stuff that I've been reading about, and I know it's like taken out of context, but I was just talking to someone about how he says like women should stay in the home, and someone else was saying that like he wishes that women would just work in the home and not go out, and it's like, why do we have a culture that has so much domestic violence, like views like that? And then I think particularly against like transgender people, like the bullying that goes on, it's just not acceptable.
The only thing that we have is art, music, beauty, life, generality, individuality. Every person makes this country. Like, you look at music, you look at art, there's not as much ghetto rap going on anymore because they're afraid of those people. They're not.
Who's afraid of those people?
The government.
The government's afraid of gangster rap?
The people that control this society are afraid of those people that actually write music that way.
Okay.
Us as individuals, we've made this country.
Yeah.
Black, white.
That's awesome that you're talking about how we're all connected, we're all brothers and sisters.
No, we have nowhere to go, dude.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
We really have nowhere to go.
I mean, from what you're saying, it kind of echoes of like spiritual beliefs. Do you have a spiritual faith?
No, I don't believe in anyone but myself.
So you don't believe in me?
No, I do believe in the community. I believe in the community, but I go day by day believing in myself to create what the next day is going to be, which is better. I don't even have a Facebook.
Yeah. That's cool.
I just think it's absolutely...
Ignore the noise, yeah?
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, not even ignore the noise, but a lot of people want to say a lot of
I assume you're not attending the event. Are you here to protest, or are you here to kind of just
watching.
Just watching.
And analyzing.
Cool. Do you know who the people are here to see?
Yeah.
Who is that?
A person.
Okay. Do you know any of the views that it's Milo Yiannopoulos is the name of the speaker.
I know.
Do you know what his views are? Well, I appreciate you talking with us tonight.
Yeah.
Cheers. Have a good night. No, let's bump it. I was wrong. You were right. We should have bumped. So what was that all about? We noticed you got into an altercation with the guy back there. Like, what started it? What happened?
Well, what had happened was one of the individuals had come busting through and kind of shoved through the crowd.
Okay.
And then two of their friends had decided that they wanted to come start having conversations with us. I informed one of them that, hey, that you're on campus property. I'm asking you to please go away. You're bothering us. You're harassing us. He wouldn't. One of his friends assaulted me. I took him to the ground, and I put him in a chokehold until the police got here. These people are violent protesters, and they're legitimately terrorists. So.
You're here to see Milo. What is it about Milo that made you want to come out here tonight?
I was sold the moment that I saw that there were individuals in our society that want to fight free speech and political heterogeneity, and they want to make a homogenous single-party system that is, as you can see, violent unless you believe with them. That's the point.
The way he brings it up?
The way he brings it up is the point. The fact that we are in a PC culture to the point where we have to second guess what we say, it means that we're no longer free to say what we believe. So he's fighting back against that and saying things as offensively as possible because it does not shift the meaning at the end of the day. Unfortunately, the University of Washington does not stand for my beliefs, and it is evident in their actions and in their stance, and I'm thoroughly surprised that they agreed to actually let Milo come to this campus.
So, why are you here tonight?
To protest Trump.
Okay, Trump's not here though.
I still hate Trump.
Okay, do you know who is speaking tonight?
Milo, not even gonna try to pronounce the last name, but yeah, him.
Okay. So, what views or opinions of Milo's do you disagree with?
All of them.
Could you be specific?
He's very racist. He's very anti-gay. Just every time he opens his mouth, it pisses me the f off.
Okay. You know he's gay, right?
Yeah, which I don't. I have some gay friends, and I've noticed Trump is like good for them or whatever. It just doesn't make sense. It's like trees for deforestation. I don't get why they support Trump, but
Sorry, there's a lot of distractions out here tonight. So tell me about your sign here. It says barf, Tommy Loren, barf also. Explain, that's the prettiest looking barf I've ever seen. You happened upon a lot of glitter. That's fantastic. And that's, I know, I saw that. Yuck, Tommy Loren, yuck.
Are you guys here to protest Milo?
Yes, and Trump in general.
And Trump in general. Okay.
Policies we stand for.
So, what are some of the things that Milo said that you guys disagree with?
He supports conversion therapy for people who are trans and gay, and that's really f***ed up. People who are born gay are born gay. They don't need to go into some stupid therapy to be turned straight.
Have you talked to anybody that's like done gay conversion therapy?
No, I mean,
I've met people who have, and it's not a fun thing. It's like people telling you that you shouldn't be who you are.
Okay. They were forced to go?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But probably yes, because why would you ever want to go to that?
If you're born gay and you know you're gay, why the hell would you want to be in a situation where someone is consistently telling you that the person that you were born is wrong and that you need to be someone else?
Gay. I have a friend that used to be gay, is now married and has 2 kids, and for a lot that, I mean, I don't wish suicide.
This interview is done, and you guys can go f*** yourselves.
So, do you want open discourse? Okay. Hi. How's it going? I was just asking questions. What does conservative mean to you? Someone who's conservative.
My mother.
I think virtually everyone's mother.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, conservative can mean a few different things, I guess, depending on who you're trying to define.
Would you say Trump's conservative?
I think Trump is his own separate conservativeness. I think there's rural white America, right? Who are the people that he's kind of trying to bring out and who support him because they want jobs and they want a better economy for them because they live out away from the cities and away from the liberal movements and all that, and they kind of have just a closed circle of views. And a lot of it is ignorant, and unfortunately it's hard to get information to them without them just blindly being like, no, that's not how it is. I mean, I'm out here mainly just to resist Trump and to be with everybody who's in solidarity with all the minorities who feel unsafe with this new president.
So, you guys are covered in paint. How did that happen?
Well, the protesters here just wanted to show my brother how tolerant they were. So, yeah, he was.
And before the election, I was pretty middle of the line. Didn't really care who got elected, but now I support our president because he was elected president and hope for the best in the country. I walked in wearing a Trump hat, wanting to discourse. I said, all I want to do is discourse. They said, we don't want to discourse, and proceeded to throw paint at me, which is a big problem in the world. I think maybe the biggest in America, because we have so many, we don't have real problems to worry about, a lot of them. So they focus on things like seeing someone wearing a Trump hat and think they want to throw paint at them instead of talking with them and solving some issues.
We're not trying to say that, anyone on either side is totally unwilling to talk about things, but I think that a big issue is the groups of people that are not willing to discuss things and figure out solutions rather than automatically assigning blame and figuring out who's trying to figure out who's at fault for everything. We need to focus on solutions, not problems, and I think that's what we're trying to get at here.
It says a lot that me and my friend came here only wearing UW gear. We're students here. We're representing purple and gold. And we tried to get closer to the entrance, and a mob converged on us, splattered us with blue paint, and started calling us fascists and yelling profanities and literally shoving us. And they took my UW hat and just threw it as far as they could, and people were just coming down on us. And they didn't stop to ask what we were here for or what we were supporting, and I think that's really dangerous if you don't try and level with someone and understand where they're coming from. And it's kind of a crazy time to be here. I don't have any credible basis on what my views are. I mean, looking at me, you wouldn't be able to tell that my family adopted 4 black kids, and I have 2 5-year-olds and a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and my parents took in. And I grew up with that from freshman year in high school. And I think that intelligent conversation, that just, it's the key.
I didn't vote for Trump. I'll say that. I did not vote for him.
Who'd you vote for?
I voted for a third-party candidate.
Gary Johnson?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, anyway, I wouldn't consider myself a Republican. I wouldn't even consider myself overly conservative. But I think that now the best course of action is to try to unify America as much as we possibly can.
One thing, when you said about his speech today, I think that we need to give the president a chance to make good on what he said about today isn't my day, today is the day for the people, and everybody in the States, we're all the people, and if we don't give him the chance to make good on that, I just don't see the value in, perpetuating this hate and violence towards your fellow countrymen.
I find it very interesting that these types of events are happening. It's sort of symptomatic, I think, maybe of a deeper problem that's here. Marcy, what were your impressions of the protesters in general?
Well, I guess I was surprised to see how uninformed many of them were. You look at the supporters and it looked like they had real solid reasons for why they were there. And with the protesters, it was like, oh, I didn't like what he said on Twitter, but it's like they didn't take the chance to actually hear the message that he's trying to convey, like the really deep topics that that need to be talked about in America. It's like if there's something we don't like, turn it off. It's like we don't take the chance, we don't take the time to actually hear the other side.
When 2 people of opposing views get together and not all of them, but people on this side are reeling back to throw something, and then the people on this side are saying, well, let's talk about this. Like, everybody on this side was saying, can we talk about this, And you saw people on the other side, some willing to talk, some willing to yell, and some just wanting to say, no, shut up, and throw something. If if people are protesting, they're a speaker on campus. They're essentially saying, say what we want, the way we want it said, or we're taking your microphone away.
So he's proving a point, whether it's the right approach or not, but the point is valid.
It was explained well by one of the supporters that was there, that this is exactly the point. Like, Milo's trying to prove a point that there's no such thing as freedom of speech in our culture today, especially on college campuses.
When Jordan was interviewing the three people near the end of the video, with the gentleman that had the mask on, the bandana, and it was like the conversation went one way. It was a very controversial topic, but you know, we could have learned a lot more from them if they would have stayed and talked to us longer, but we hit a subject that they did not like and they just up and left. So yeah, that was that was interesting. And then, I mean, right before that, we tried to talk to other protesters and they just weren't even willing to talk to us. And then after that, we met Emma, who was really great to talk to. She actually was informed. She had good reasons for believing the way that she does, and I think, you know, that was probably one of my favorite interviews.
It was also inspiring in a way, seeing how people aren't that different. Like, once we got into talking to people on both sides of the fence, we could see that most people just wanted to be heard. They just want their voices heard more than anything.
Yeah. Which I think is one of our objectives as filmmakers.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
with this YouTube channel.
I think what people don't realize is that no matter what your political views are, everybody wants love, peace, and equality for everybody. Everybody wants to see prosperity increase and poverty decrease. It's just how we get there, how we get to that plane, and what equality might look like for everybody is different. And people let their convictions kind of get in the way of the fact that you're yelling at somebody that is just like you, that just wants to feel loved the same as you do.
There really is this conflict of ideas, this clash of ideas that seems to be happening in America today. Marcy, I know you are a spiritual woman, you have a spiritual life. Do you think there's a spiritual component behind all of this?
Absolutely. I mean, the Bible says that we do not battle against flesh and blood, but against the principalities of the air, you know? Like, there's definitely a division happening in our country for a reason. I don't know what will come out of all of this. Like, I'd love to be hopeful, but I don't know. We can pray for our president, pray for protection. Also, just pray for people's hearts that they'll be open to hearing the truth, because there is truth out there. You know, it's like so many lies have just been like washed over us for years and years from the media, and it's cool to see that people are actually like checking out other avenues for news sources and what's going on in the world. And I mean, we are definitely in a battle. Thanks for listening.